Welcome back to Product X, where we explore unknown tech and decode future unicorns. I'm Rena. Today we're diving into a financing story that literally made the cybersecurity world stop and pay attention. PySecurity, a San Francisco-based product security startup, just closed a massive $25 million Series A led by Third Point Ventures and Brightmind Partners. But here's the wild part. George Kurtz, the CEO of CrowdStrike, wrote a personal check. So did the founders of Armis. We're talking about the literal dream team of cybersecurity billionaires backing the same tiny startup. Vivian, want to kick us off?
Hey, Rena. Hey, Nolan. Good to be here. So, yeah, I'm an angel investor at Pre-Angel Fund, and when I saw this round, I immediately texted a few friends in the industry. This isn't just another security startup. The player roster tells you everything.
Rena, thanks for having me. I'm Nolan, previously leading architecture at a couple of big tech shops in the Valley. And honestly, when I read the tech breakdown on PySecurity, I had to double-check. They're actually doing AST parsing and runtime tracing. That's not typical Series A material. That's legit hard engineering.
Let's get into it. Vivian, you've seen a ton of deals. Why would George Kurtz, the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar endpoint security giant, personally invest in a Series A? What's the strategic play here?
Honestly, it's all about the manpower gap. You look at most enterprises, there's one security engineer for every 100 developers writing code. 100 to 1. Legacy vendors like Snyk and Checkmarks, they make money per alert generated, which means they have zero incentive to fix the alert fatigue problem. So, you end up with one poor security person drowning in 10,000 alerts a day, 90% of which are false positives. George isn't stupid. He sees a company that's fundamentally rewriting the business model from selling alerts to selling outcomes. Actual fixes, not noise.
Right, and that's the key insight. But let me add something on the tech side. The reason those legacy tools generate so much garbage is that they're context blind. An SCA tool sees you imported a vulnerable library and screams. It has no idea whether your code actually calls that function, or whether your API gateway already sanitized the input. It's like a fire alarm that goes off when you toast bread. PySecurity's approach, the reachability analysis. They're mathematically proving whether a vulnerability can actually be reached before they even flag it. That's a completely different engineering philosophy.
So, you're saying the architecture itself is the moat? The call graph analysis plus runtime tracing?
Exactly. They parse the entire abstract syntax tree, build a directed call graph, and calculate conditional reachability. If there's a sanitizer in the path or the function is never invoked, they filter it out at the foundation. No noise, just signal. Most security companies talk about signal. These guys actually built the math to prove it.
And that matters enormously for the valuation story. When you shift from billing per alert to billing per automated remediation, you're essentially telling enterprises, we'll fix it, or you don't pay. That's SaaS too. That's outcome-based pricing. George and the Armis founders aren't just writing checks. They're signaling to their entire ecosystem that this is where the market's heading. It's a scout mission wrapped in a personal investment.
Nolan, let's go deeper on the engineering. You mentioned the reachability analysis. What about the automated remediation piece? I've read that PySecurity's agents actually write the patch code and submit PRs directly. How does that work in practice?
So here's where it gets really interesting. They don't just flag the vulnerability. For the high-risk issues that survive the reachability filter, the agent autonomously writes a proof-of-concept exploit inside an isolated sandbox container. It actually attempts to breach itself to confirm the vulnerability is real. Only after that verification loop does it generate the fix. Then it runs the entire regression test suite, makes sure nothing breaks, and submits a clean PR to the repository. Developers literally just review and merge. No context switching, no hunting through spaghetti code, no manually writing patches at 2 a.m. The security engineer becomes a reviewer, not a firefighter.
That's the killer feature right there. I've talked to CISOs who literally teared up describing the zero-day backlog in their systems. Vulnerabilities sitting unpatched for months because developers refuse to touch security code. PySecurity's model doesn't ask developers to become security experts. It absorbs the grunt work entirely. That's the value proposition. That's why this isn't just a tool. It's an operating system for product security.
Wait, I want to push back a little here. The engineering ambition is incredible, but there's a real challenge they haven't fully solved yet. Modern cloud-native architectures are polyglot. You've got Go at the edge, Java in the middle, Python in data processing. cross-boundary tracing across distributed services, maintaining zero hallucination context for the AI agent. That's insanely hard. OpenTelemetry helps, but stitching static syntax trees to distributed traces across repos, that's the next mountain. It's doable, but it's not a given.
Fair point. And that's actually why the valuation arbitrage exists at this stage. If they crack that cross-repo remediation problem, they're an acquisition target for every major security vendor on the planet. CrowdStrike, Palo Alto Networks, Microsoft. They all need this capability native in their stack. The Series A check isn't just an investment. It's an option on that future M&A outcome.
Let's talk industry impact. We've covered the money and the engineering. But when a platform can mathematically separate signal from noise and physically write code fixes, how does that restructure the entire AppSec ecosystem?
Simple. We're moving from Generation 2 to Generation 3. Gen 1 was the firewall and scanner era PDF reports nobody reads. Gen 2 was SNCC and checkmarks, developer-first tools that still flooded you with false positives. Gen 3 is autonomous agents. The ROI calculation changes completely. Enterprises won't ask how many rules you integrate anymore. They'll ask what percentage of vulnerabilities your AI resolves end-to-end. Legacy vendors who built their business on alert volume are facing existential churn. That's not hyperbole, that's the trajectory.
And from the engineering perspective, the relationship between dev and SEC fundamentally flips. Right now, security is the police. They show up, say no, and walk away. With autonomous agents doing the triage and the patching, security becomes the enabler. Developers stop seeing security as the brake pedal. That's a massive cultural shift, and honestly, it's long overdue.
I love that framing. The brake pedal to the reinforced track. Exactly.
All right, let's shift gears. Time for some quick-fire questions. Lightning round, no long answers, just fast takes. First question. If you could pitch Pi Security's value prop in one sentence to a skeptical CFO, what would you say?
We'll cut your vulnerability remediation time from months to minutes, and you'll pay us only when we actually fix something.
Stop paying people to read false positive alerts. Let the machine handle it.
Second, biggest technical hurdle Pi Security faces in the next 18 months?
Cross-repo, polyglot remediation. No question. That's the hard part.
I'd say talent acquisition. This requires engineers who understand static analysis, dynamic tracing, and LLM code generation. That's a rare three-headed dragon.
Third hot take. Will legacy security vendors like SNCC survive the agentic shift?
The ones who adapt will survive. The ones who cling to the alert generation model, they'll become cautionary tales.
Agreed, but I'll add, it's not automatic. Adapting to agentic workflows requires rebuilding their entire engine. That's a heavy lift.
Fourth, what's the most impressive thing about this $25 million round? Beyond the money?
The syndicate. George Kurtz plus the Armis founders. That's not just validation. That's a signal to the entire market that product security is the next frontier.
For me, it's the technical ambition. They actually built the verification loop. Exploit generation, sandbox testing, PR submission. That's a full product security pipeline, not just a scanner.
Last one, prediction time. Where will Pi Security be in 3 years?
If they execute, they're either a major platform or part of one. Acquisition by a top 3 security vendor within 5 years is my bet.
I'll go bigger. They'll define the category. Agentic product security will become a standard line item in every enterprise security budget, and Pi Security will be the Bialgan, the benchmark everyone measures against.
Okay, let's wrap. Vivian, one sentence to summarize today's discussion.
Pi Security's $25 million Series A isn't just a financing. It's a bet that the future of product security is autonomous, outcome-based, and built on mathematical reachability analysis, not alert noise.
Nolan, your turn.
The engineering is legit. Real AST parsing, real runtime tracing, real automated remediation. This isn't marketing fluff. It's the hardest kind of infrastructure play, and they're executing at a level I've rarely seen at Series A.
Thanks to both of you. That's our show for today. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit subscribe and join us next time on Product X, where we decode the next big thing before it happens. Catch you later.
Thanks for having me, Rena.
Always a pleasure. See you next time.